In this video, I'm about to show you 10 fruit in gel cup brands you should never buy and why, along with 5 safer alternatives that are actually worth your money, starting with number 10, Dole. Dole is one of the most recognizable names in the fruit aisle, and that reputation is exactly why its fruit in gel cups often get a free pass from shoppers. When people see the Dole logo, they automatically associate it with fresh pineapples, tropical fruit, and healthy canned fruit options. But fruit in gel cups are a very different category from whole fruit or even simple canned fruit in juice. In these cups, the fruit pieces are typically suspended in a thick, glossy gel designed primarily for texture and shelf stability rather than nutrition. While Dole does use fruit as the base ingredient, the fruit is often processed and stored in sweetened solutions before it even reaches the final cup. By the time it's packaged, the original structure and freshness of the fruit have already been significantly altered. The gel itself is another important factor. It's usually made using stabilizers and thickening agents that give the product its signature wobble and uniform appearance. This makes the cup visually appealing and consistent across batches, but it also shifts the product away from anything that feels like natural fruit. Sugar content is another hidden issue. Even when labeled as in juice or light syrup, these cups can still contain added sugars that push them closer to dessert territory than to light snack territory. Because the portion sizes are small, it's easy to underestimate how much sugar is actually being consumed. Number 9. Del Monte. Del Monte is another heavyweight name in the canned and packaged fruit industry, and just like Dole, that brand reputation plays a big role in how people perceive its fruit in gel cups. The logo feels familiar, almost home kitchen level trustworthy, which makes these cups an easy grab for lunchbox planning or quick snack runs. But when you break down what's actually inside, the reality becomes more processed than most people expect. Del Monte fruit in gel cups typically start with fruit that has already been peeled, cut, and preserved before it ever reaches the final packaging stage. That fruit is usually stored in sweetened liquids or juice concentrates designed to maintain color, texture, and shelf life. While this keeps the product stable for long periods, it also means the fruit loses a lot of its original freshness and natural structure. The gel component is where things become even more engineered. It's not just fruit juice naturally thickening on its own. It's usually a carefully controlled mix of gelling agents and stabilizers that give the cup its uniform texture and signature jelly set consistency. This is what allows every cup to look identical, but it also pushes the product further away from anything resembling whole fruit. Sugar is another key factor that often gets overlooked. Even when varieties are labeled as in juice, the overall sweetness level can still be relatively high compared to eating fresh fruit. And because it's served in a small, convenient cup, it's easy for people to underestimate how quickly these sugars add up across multiple servings. Number 8. Snack Pack fruit in gel cups. Snack Pack is one of the most recognizable brands in the fruit cup and pudding category, and it's often positioned as a quick, kid-friendly snack. The packaging leans heavily into bright colors and fruit imagery, which naturally creates the impression that you're buying something closer to real fruit. But when you look at both the ingredient structure and consumer feedback patterns, a clearer picture emerges. At its core, Snack Pack fruit in gel cups contain fruit pieces that are typically pre-processed and stored in sweetened or juice-based solutions before packaging. This helps maintain consistency, color, and shelf stability, but it also means the fruit loses a noticeable amount of its original texture and fresh bite quality. What ends up in the cup is soft, uniform fruit designed for convenience rather than a natural fruit experience. The gel system is another engineered component. It relies on stabilizers and thickening agents to create that smooth, spoonable texture that holds shape over time. This is what allows every cup to look identical on store shelves, but it also shifts the product closer to a dessert-style formulation than whole fruit. From a consumer perspective, many online reviews and parent discussions commonly point out 2 recurring concerns. First, that the product tastes significantly sweeter than expected for a fruit, and second, that it feels more like a dessert or candy than a nutritious snack for kids. While it remains popular due to affordability and convenience, this perception gap is important. Number 7. Jell-O Fruit Gel Cups. Jell-O is one of those brands that almost everyone grows up with. It's in lunchboxes, cafeterias, hospital trays, basically woven into everyday food culture for decades. And that long history is exactly why most people never question it. It feels familiar, harmless, almost comfort food level safe. But when you strip away the branding, what you're really looking at is not a fruit snack, it's a gelatin-based dessert system. The structure of the cup is built around flavored gel that's engineered to hold shape, stay stable on shelves, and deliver a consistent texture every single time. That consistency is the product's real purpose, not fruit quality. The fruit pieces, when present, are secondary. They're usually pre-processed, softened, and added more for visual effect than nutritional impact. Instead of biting into fresh fruit, you're getting uniform chunks designed to blend into the gel experience rather than stand out as real produce. What makes Jell-O interesting is how perception works. The word fruit on the label and the visible fruit imagery create an expectation of something light and naturally derived. But the actual eating experience is closer to a sweet flavored gel dessert with fruit accents rather than a fruit-forward snack. At its core, Jell-O isn't pretending to be health food, but its branding still lets it sit in that better-than-dessert mental category for many buyers. Number 6. Great Value Fruit in Gel Cups. Great Value sits in a very different category from name-brand fruit cups, not because the concept changes, but because everything is optimized for price. These are the kinds of products people pick up almost automatically during grocery runs, especially in larger packs where cost per cup is the main selling point. What you're really dealing with here is a product designed around scalability. The fruit component is typically standardized, meaning it's processed and stored in controlled syrup or juice solutions before packaging. This keeps costs low and ensures every cup looks identical, but it also removes a lot of the natural variation you'd expect from real fruit. The texture experience comes mostly from the gel system, which is engineered for stability rather than freshness. It's designed to withstand long-term storage, stacking, transport, and temperature changes without breaking down. That's why every cup has the same smooth, slightly firm consistency, predictable, but very far removed from fresh-cut fruit. What's interesting is how consumers talk about it online. The most common sentiment isn't confusion, it's acceptance. People usually know it's a budget product, but still describe it as very sweet for fruit, or more like a dessert snack. That gap between expectation and taste is where the product sits. Number 5. Kroger Fruit in Gel Cups. Kroger Fruit in Gel Cups sit in that quiet middle zone of the grocery aisle. Not flashy enough to feel premium, not cheap enough to feel questionable at first glance. They're the kind of product most people grab on autopilot, because the Kroger name feels familiar and safe just by association, and that's exactly why they rarely get a second look. But underneath that neutral branding, the product is built around efficiency, not freshness. The fruit inside is typically pre-processed before packaging, meaning it's already been peeled, cut, and preserved in controlled liquid systems long before it ever reaches the cup. That step is what allows uniform appearance across thousands of units, but it also removes the natural bite and texture you'd expect from real fruit. Then comes the gel layer, the part that holds everything together. It's engineered for stability, not taste complexity. It keeps fruit suspended, prevents separation, and ensures the cup looks identical whether it's open today or months later. That visual consistency is part of the product's appeal, even if it doesn't reflect anything close to fresh preparation. What's interesting is how consumers describe it. Most don't call it bad, they call it predictable. Some even point out that it tastes sweeter than they expect for something marketed as fruit, especially when eaten regularly or in multiple servings. Number 4. Market Pantry. Market Pantry looks harmless on purpose. That's the first thing you notice. Clean design, soft colors, and that Target brand trust effect that makes people assume it's automatically a balanced choice. It doesn't scream snack or dessert, it just quietly sits there as it belongs in a healthy lunchbox. But that calm presentation hides how engineered the product actually is. The fruit inside isn't really treated as fresh fruit in the way most people imagine. It goes through a stabilization process before it ever reaches the cup cut, preserved and stored in liquid systems that lock in appearance rather than freshness. The goal isn't texture variety or natural bite. It's uniformity. Every cup has to look the same, taste the same, and survive long storage without changing. Then there's the gel, and this is where the identity shifts. It's not there to enhance fruit, it's there to control it. To hold everything in suspension, prevent separation, and keep that perfect glossy structure intact even months after production. The result is a texture that feels engineered, smooth, consistent, almost too controlled. And that's really what Market Pantry represents. Not deception, not scandal, just a product designed to look simple while being built for shelf performance first, and real fruit character second. Number 3. Signature Select. Signature Select is Albertsons' private label, and it plays the same quiet game as most store brands. It doesn't try to stand out. It tries to feel dependable. The packaging is clean, minimal, and intentionally safe-looking, the kind of design that blends into grocery shelves without raising any questions. And that's exactly why it often gets picked up without hesitation. But when you look past the branding, the product is built around one core priority: stability at scale. The fruit inside isn't handled like fresh produce in the way most people assume. It's typically processed, cut, and preserved in liquid systems before packaging, so it can maintain consistent texture, color, and shelf life across long distribution cycles. That consistency is the goal, not freshness, not variation, just uniformity. The gel layer is doing most of the heavy lifting here. It's formulated to suspend fruit evenly, prevent separation, and keep the cup visually unchanged from production to consumption. That's why every spoonful feels identical, smooth, soft, and predictable. There's no real fruit moment where texture or ripeness shifts. Everything is controlled. In the end, Signature Select Fruit in Gel cups aren't trying to compete with fresh fruit at all. They exist as a reliable, low-cost snack system designed to look familiar, taste consistent, and avoid surprises. Number 2, 365 by Whole Foods. Whole Foods carries a certain reputation, and the 365 label benefits from it heavily. For many shoppers, anything from this brand automatically feels closer to clean eating than typical grocery store alternatives. That perception alone changes how people judge the product before they even open the cup. But the reality inside doesn't really operate on that reputation. The structure of these fruit and gel cups is still built around long shelf life and uniform production. The fruit is handled to prioritize stability over freshness, meaning it's processed and preserved to maintain its appearance and texture over time without breaking down. What's interesting here is not what's different, but what isn't. Even in a premium-leaning store brand, the same system is still at work. Fruit standardized for consistency, gel systems used to lock everything in place, and a finished product designed to look identical across thousands of units. The gel itself plays a silent but central role. It removes variation completely. No juice separation, no texture change, no natural inconsistency. Just a controlled, sealed environment where everything stays visually perfect from production to consumption. Number 1, Member's Mark. Member's Mark is what you buy when the cart is already full, and you're thinking in bulk rather than in detail. It's not really a brand moment. It's a warehouse decision. Big packs, low cost per unit, and the feeling that you've solved snacks for the week in one purchase. But that bulk convenience changes how the product is built. These cups are designed less like individual fruit snacks and more like identical units in a supply chain. The fruit inside is processed early in the production cycle, meaning by the time it reaches the cup, its natural texture and freshness are already secondary concerns. What matters at that point is stability, how well it holds up across hundreds of identical servings. The consistency you see isn't accidental. It's the whole point. Every cup looks and behaves the same because variability doesn't scale well in warehouse packaging. Even the gel isn't there for taste. It's there to lock everything into a predictable structure so nothing shifts during storage, shipping, or stacking. What's interesting is how consumers actually talk about it. There's rarely emotional language attached. No praise, no outrage, just practicality. Good for lunchboxes, cheap for the amount. Kids like it. That's the entire identity in public perception. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. Member's Mark isn't trying to feel like fresh fruit at all. It's designed to disappear into routine consumption, where quantity matters more than experience. But don't worry, it's not all bad. There are actually 5 safer alternatives that are better choices, made with cleaner ingredients, real fruit, and a much more honest nutrition profile, starting with number 5, Earth's Best. Earth's Best feels like it belongs in a different aisle compared to most fruit in gel products. It doesn't try to look like a candy snack or a colorful dessert. The branding is calmer, more minimal, almost like it's not trying to convince you of anything at all. What stands out is how simple the formulation is compared to mainstream options. Instead of building the entire experience around sweetness and engineered texture, it keeps things closer to the natural character of fruit. The structure is still stabilized for shelf life that's unavoidable in packaged food, but it doesn't rely on heavy dessert-style construction to carry the product. There's also a noticeable difference in how it tastes. It doesn't push artificial fruit intensity. It feels softer, more grounded, and less exaggerated. That alone changes the perception completely. Parents often describe it in very plain terms: simpler, not overly sweet, or more like real fruit. And that's really the identity here. Not trying to impress, just trying to stay close to the basics. Earth's Best works because it removes noise, not because it adds more to the product. Number 4, Happy Baby Organics. Happy Baby Organics is one of those brands that immediately signals a different intention the moment you see it on the shelf. It's not trying to compete in the fun snack category. It's clearly aimed at parents who are actively trying to avoid heavily processed foods for their kids. What separates it from most fruit in gel style products is how little it tries to manipulate the experience. There's no over-engineered sweetness profile, no attempt to turn fruit into a dessert-like product, and no heavy reliance on artificial flavor intensity to carry taste. The texture still goes through stabilization that's unavoidable in packaged fruit products, but it avoids the overly artificial gel identity that makes many mainstream options feel manufactured. Instead, it stays closer to a simple fruit puree consistency. Consumer perception reflects that difference. It's not described as exciting or indulgent. It's usually labeled as simple, clean, or exactly what it says it is. And that's the key point. It doesn't try to disguise itself as anything more than basic fruit-based baby food. Number 3, Plum Organics. Plum Organics sits in the so-called clean label section of the baby and toddler food aisle, where branding matters almost as much as ingredients. The packaging is soft, minimal, and intentionally designed to signal simplicity and safety before you even read the back of the pouch or cup. What separates it from mainstream fruit in gel products is its restraint. Instead of pushing dessert-like sweetness or turning fruit into a candy-style experience, it stays closer to a straightforward fruit base. The texture leans more toward a puree consistency rather than a firm gel structure, which already changes the entire eating experience. Like all shelf-stable fruit products, it undergoes processing and stabilization to ensure safety and long-term storage. That part is unavoidable. But the key difference is how far it avoids unnecessary complexity. There's no heavy flavor engineering trying to mimic candy or intensify sweetness beyond the fruit profile itself. In a category where many products are designed to look like fruit but behave like dessert, Plum Organics stays closer to the basics, controlled, minimal, and intentionally uncomplicated. Number 2, Once Upon a Farm. Once Upon a Farm feels less like a typical shelf-stable snack and more like something designed to sit at the edge of fresh food and packaged convenience. From the branding alone, it pushes a very specific message: cold-pressed, farm-inspired, and closer to real produce than traditional fruit and gel products. What actually sets it apart from most competitors is how it avoids the classic gel-heavy structure entirely. Instead of relying on firming agents and heavily stabilized textures, it leans into a puree-style consistency that feels closer to blended fruit than a set dessert format. That single shift already changes how the product is experienced. It's also positioned around minimal handling of ingredients. The idea is not to reconstruct fruit into something artificial, but to preserve it in a form that stays as close as possible to its original character while still being safe for storage and transport. Compared to standard fruit cups that prioritize shelf stability, this one aims to maintain a more freshly prepared identity. It still exists in a packaged system, but it deliberately avoids the overly engineered feel that dominates the category. Number 1, Peter Rabbit Organics. Peter Rabbit Organics is one of the simplest entries in this entire category, And that simplicity is exactly what defines it. It doesn't try to behave like a dessert, and it doesn't lean into the gel-heavy structure that dominates most shelf-stable fruit snacks. Instead, it stays in a very minimal space where the product feels closer to blended fruit than a constructed snack. The texture is intentionally smooth and puree-based, eliminating the need for the rigid stabilization systems used in traditional fruit-in-gel cups. That already changes the experience. There's no separation between fruit and gel layers, no artificial set structure, just a consistent fruit blend. What also stands out is the lack of over-engineering in taste. It doesn't push exaggerated sweetness or artificial flavor intensity to create impact. The profile stays relatively close to the base fruit itself, which keeps the focus on simplicity rather than enhancement. In a category often built on turning fruit into a shelf-stable snack product, Peter Rabbit Organics sits at the far end of minimal processing, closer to the real fruit identity than to manufactured dessert logic.